first got into Suicidal Tendencies in 1984. That was the year I started skateboarding and the year I discovered punk rock. My friend, John Reigart, who had actually told me what kind of skateboard to buy and was the guy I looked up to when I first started skateboarding, said, hey, have you ever heard of this band, Suicidal Tendencies? The album graphics look kind of cool. I haven't checked it out yet. So we put that on and we played it over and over and over again. By about the third time, I was addicted to it. I loved all the tracks, Institutionalize, Subliminal, I Shot the Devil, I Saw Your Mommy. I mean, it's a great record. A short time later, I realized that Suicidal was fronted by Mike Muir, who was the brother of Jim Muir, the founder of Dogtown Skateboards.
When I was 16, I moved out with my brother, and someone that we knew, he had drums. And so you have drums, everybody, they're not drummers, but you have to hit on it and stuff. Another friend had a guitar. And for us, it was kind of like we just started like playing around and messing around. And it was fun. At the end of the month, we had a party, and we lived in a little place in the hood in Venice, and it was a little backyard. And they'd always be packed, and we charged people, and then we used that money to pay rent. We're sitting there going, maybe if we play at the party, we'll clear everybody out so that we can charge more people later when they come in. And so we started doing ramp parties, and then it got so big that we started renting out places and doing shows like that. Punk rock, there was no market. What we were doing was even less, and we didn't really care. It was just doing what we liked and what we thought was cool, and we worry about tomorrow.
I love the history of punk rock, about everything being grimy, and so when I was younger, if I got a new t-shirt or new sneakers, immediately I wanted the stuff scuffed up, beat up, didn't want it to look new, it wasn't cool for it to be new, it wasn't punk if it was new. Suicidal was using the bandana as one of their signature elements, always using the bandana.
With fashion, my brother, when you look at him, when he was on cover skateboarder, you know, they had the bandanas and stuff, and a lot of that was to keep the hair out of their eyes and stuff, and then being, you know, in the Venice, Santa Monica area, and that everybody was associated with different things, and the flipped up hat with the police, it's just kind of like, it's like flipping them off and stuff, you know. Someone always had the F off kind of thing, or this or that, you know, and they go like, you know, and we'd go to the Salvation Army and buy the old button-up shirts, you know, and they used to have a $5 bag day where you can get $5 for everything you get in a bag, and we would stuff them bags.
Suicidal was one of those bands that I loved because they had great art also. Skeletons skating in the pool wearing a bandana with the Suicidal Tendencies on the bottom of the board, once again connecting skateboarding and Suicidal. There was the Suicidal skull with the hat flipped up with Suicidal written on it, with once again with a bandana. Later, a Possessed Escape, which a great skull with a star with a goat in it. Later on, I found out that Ric Clayton was the guy who had done the Possessed Escape graphic and a lot of awesome flyers for Suicidal back in the 80s. Then I found out that the other art pieces that were really iconic that I knew for Suicidal were done by Lance Mountain.
Well, long story short is Glenn Friedman was one of the first photographers to ever shoot photos of me and give me a cover and an interview in Thrasher, and so I had a connection. I had met him, and a couple years later he had been shooting Suicidal Tendencies, and at that point he asked me if I wanted to maybe do a t-shirt for him. I like projects. I like doing things for people, and it sounded like a fun little challenge, so I took the drawing and the idea from some photographs. Everyone's always thought as a photograph of Alva at Vista that Glenn shot, and it's partly that, but it was also a photo of Kent Senator, and it was kind of a mix of them. It was actually the photos from a Kent Senator interview. That's actually, I think, really where the main image of it kind of came from, but I always loved this photo Glenn shot of Alva at Vista. I used his leading hand with that style because it's such a good style, you know. The whole thing was like, hey, I'll get you into a Suicidal show if you do this drawing for us, kind of thing. And we went in, and second song I got pushed and I got knocked out the front of my bottom teeth.
Having someone like Lance, who was one of the nicest guys everybody liked back then, great skater with a great style, for him to say, to offer up to draw something for Suicidal, it's like, wow, dude, Lance Mountain likes the band? Wow, that's kind of like, that was really kind of, just one of those ones you go, wow, that's cool. Things like that are kind of like special, and you look back later on, you go 30 years later, and you go, wow, I still remember, you know, when he did it, and doing that, I was like, wow, that's cool.
You know, you still see kids to this day wearing the suicidal graphics that Lance did in 1983. To use these in our collaboration with OBEY with Suicidal and have Lance have his name on the graphics and receive some recognition, I think is really important. So Ric Clayton and Lance Mountain are being acknowledged for their artistic contribution to the legacy of Suicidal Tendencies.
What we did with the project was Shepard took Lance's original drawings and then also the original pentagram drawing, which was by Ric Clayton. He basically did his versions of them. We wanted to keep the artwork, you know, as close to the original as possible, but put kind of an OBEY twist to it. As always with these collaborations, you know, it's important to respect the heritage and the legacy that those guys have left and follow in their footsteps in a meaningful way.
You know, when someone says 30 years and they go, wow, that's a long time, and to still be doing it, and for them to see it and go, you know what, they're not the old band going through the motion or trying to be nostalgic. It's like they're going to make a statement. And if you can't make a statement, then it all ends.
I set my heart up on a platter. The world laughs at me like I don't even matter. You grab my hand just to squeeze too tight. You got me paid just so I feel your might. You cast your vision so easily. I get found guilty and absentee. So why is it when everybody looks at me, they always judge me for the things that they can't see?
I want my front teeth back. Still missing.